The venomous snake fiercely lunged at the squirrel but underestimated the rodent's speed. Although the little one with the fluffy tail seems helpless against such a dangerous enemy, it did not allow the venomous fangs to even touch its body. Moreover, after skillfully dodging, the squirrel began to press the opponent, attack, and sink its sharp teeth into it. We will show other cases where snakes tangled with the wrong enemy and paid a high price for it. A huge python chose an unfortunate place to hunt. A hyena noticed that the snake had already strangled the hoofed animals, but to swallow the gazelle whole, the python needed time and safety. The hyena did not allow the snake to enjoy the fruits of its labor and instantly snatched the prey right from the super strong grip of the reptile. So, if the snake thought it could scare the opponent, it was mistaken. The python strangled the hoofed animal for several minutes, and the hyena snatched the predator's prey in a second. Can you imagine how frustrating it must be for the snake? In the Amazon River basin, there are several animals that claim a spot at the top of the food pyramid. The giant anaconda, the alligator or its relative the black caiman, as well as the jaguar, are among them. If the snake has grown to truly enormous sizes, it is likely to indeed overcome any competitors. However, the average length of an anaconda, while impressive, is still not as large as the monsters from horror movies. And the snake made a huge mistake when it allowed the alligator to get within striking distance. Perhaps the legless reptile simply failed to assess the size of its opponent. The alligator grabbed the anaconda by the head, its powerful jaws squeezing the snake and sharp teeth penetrating deeper into its skull. The speed of its reaction stunned the anaconda, and the opponent's grip was not only painful but also very effective in immobilizing the snake. However, the anaconda was incredibly strong and did not give in. If she had tried to break free, the enemy's teeth would have only torn her flesh more. Instead of trying to escape, she decisively attacked the alligator and wrapped her entire body around it. This was a smart and probably the only way to counter such a dangerous enemy. The snake turned out to be about 2.5 times longer than the alligator, and thanks to its excellent camouflage, it didn't immediately reveal its true size, which stunned the predator. In general, in a duel between these reptiles, size is the main argument for both sides. If the body length is equal, the alligator will surely win due to its greater mass of mighty armor and the crushing power of its jaws, which can crush the opponent's internal organs. But the anaconda is just large enough to completely immobilize the alligator and squeeze the coils of its own body with monstrous force. These opponents are worthy of each other. The anaconda is not only long but also very powerful. It is the most muscular snake on the planet, surpassing even those pythons that are longer than it in terms of mass. When the anaconda attacks, after the first lunge and bite, it throws its entire body onto the opponent and begins not just to strangle, but to crush it, like you crush an empty soda can in your hand. The victim suffers not only from suffocation, but also from a rapid increase in blood pressure. The anaconda crushes bones, destroys internal organs, and, of course, does not allow breathing. It was already too late for the alligator to retreat. Its only hope was to crush the anaconda's head before it completely entangled it and executed its tactic 100%. When people arrived, hearing the battle, they saw the anaconda almost completely covering the alligator with its coils. It seems the alligator has no chance. Gradually, the alligator's bones couldn't withstand the pressure and broke, with sharp fragments piercing the lungs and heart. However, although in terms of strength and the result of this struggle the snake had a clear advantage, it would not have escaped alive from this predicament. The anaconda simply underestimated its enemy. The alligator took the snake with it. It was lucky at the very beginning of the battle to grab the opponent in a vulnerable area. Then it continued to tighten its grip, overcoming the pain. The alligator's bite was too powerful and the anaconda never went hunting again, having received fatal injuries. Trying to strangle this alligator was a mistake. Among all lizards, monitor lizards are probably the toughest and most dangerous fighters. Of course, the most famous species of these reptiles is the Komodo dragon, which is distinguished by its enormous size. But in fact, all monitor lizards, even relatively small ones, are very tough. A medium-sized monitor lizard can easily handle even venomous snakes. Its very tough skin protects the lizard from venomous fangs. The protection is not absolute, but it gives the reptile a chance to gain time and completely seize the initiative in a fight with a snake. What is most striking is how actively and aggressively the monitor lizard engages in battle with such an opponent. It uses its jaws to securely grab the snake. And usually the entire girth of the venomous opponent fits in the lizard's mouth. But the attack is not limited to a simple bite. The monitor lizard is very strong and muscular. It braces its paws against the ground and begins to shake its head side to side rapidly, sharply, and brutally. The movements are so fast that the silhouette of the reptile blurs and turns into a large spot. The snake is being shaken and jerked. The monitor lizard's teeth sink very deeply into its body, tearing flesh, crushing bones, and even damaging internal organs. His powerful jaws allow him to crush the snake's spine. Moreover, when the snake is shaken with such force, it has no chance to counterattack. The crushing bite force is not all. The monitor lizard slams the snake against the ground several times, hitting the opponent's head on the hard surface and knocking it out with just that. Engaging with this monitor lizard was a mistake. The lizard left the snake no chance. The venomous reptile, feared even by large warm-blooded predators, has turned from a hunter into a helpless victim. Look at how this cobra is staring at the monitor lizard. It seems like the snake is literally trying to hypnotize its opponent, but in reality, it is just waiting to react to its attack in a split second and deliver a counter-strike. This is exactly how cobras act during self-defense. They spread their hood, rise up, and take a defensive stance. These dances of theirs represent a specific tactic. The cobra understands that if it attacks first, it will expose its head and neck to a strike. Therefore, it waits for the enemy to initiate the attack, watches it closely, and moves its head. At the moment of the opponent's attack, the cobra counterattacks, sinking its venomous fangs into the opponent. The powerful neurotoxin can take down a buffalo, and most of the cobra's enemies won't be able to continue their attack if even a tenth of a drop of the reptile's venom enters their body. However, in the case of the monitor lizard, relying on this weapon as a guarantee of safety won't work. The outcome of the clash between a cobra and a monitor lizard largely depends on the size of the competitors. Snakes have a less strong but slender body, which can be a problem when their opponent is a powerful monitor lizard with dense musculature. No matter how strong the snake is, it almost always loses in terms of mass to any lizard, even if the lizard is 1.5 times shorter. But the monitor lizard is also armed with sharp claws on powerful legs, a strong tail with which the reptile can deliver surprisingly accurate blows, and almost impenetrable tough skin. If the snake is 2 or 2.5 times longer than the monitor lizard, it has a good chance of defeating the monitor lizard. However, even if the opponents are more or less equal in length, the powerful body and strong limbs of the monitor lizard give it a definite advantage. In this case, this played a key role. The cobra is large and strong, but still does not surpass the monitor lizard enough to instill fear in it. Rather, it is the snake that will have to retreat. It's just that the monitor lizard understands its advantage, and the snake cannot scare it away with a defensive stance. The cobra did not know how strange or determined the opponent in front of her was. The monitor lizard ignores the threat of the cobra's venomous fangs, and her body poses no danger to him. The snake's powerful and crushing blows end up in the jaws of the lizard. The monitor lizard's tactic involves fierce head movements to simultaneously drive its teeth deeper into the enemy's body and stun it with blows. The cobra might have been able to pierce the monitor lizard's skin if it found a vulnerable spot, like at the joint of the limbs or the neck, but the monitor lizard gives the cobra no chance to find such a place. The monitor lizard slams the cobra against the ground with such brutal force that the snake sustains critical injuries from this alone, not to mention the lizard's teeth. However, the snake does not give up and continues to resist. The monitor lizard did not expect such a fierce reaction, but still does not retreat and does not release its opponent. The Cobra continued the battle and tried to counterattack the opponent. It already realized that it could not scare it away, and as a meal it is not suitable as it is too large and snakes swallow their prey whole. But stopping the monitor lizard's heart with venom is the Cobra's only chance for survival. Therefore, she continues to resist, and it seems that soon she will emerge victorious from this epic battle. However, she underestimated the endurance of the monitor lizard. If it were another reptile in his place, even of this size, the Cobra would have managed to escape, considering how energetically the monitor lizard began the duel. But unlike other cold-blooded creatures, this monitor lizard did not tire. It continued to press its opponent, powerfully attack, and inflict terrible damage on the snake for too long. The fact is that monitor lizards stand out with a rather developed cardiovascular system. They fall short in endurance compared to mammals and birds, but due to their structural features, they far surpass most other reptiles. The monitor lizard continues to actively fight the Cobra for too long, and the snake becomes exhausted, succumbing to the opponent and the pain from the wounds and injuries it managed to inflict on the stunned and crippled Cobra. That rare case when the Cobra looks like a victim deserving pity, right? The monitor lizard simply dominated her the entire fight, like a cruel monster over frightened horror movie characters. When the snake gets hit by a larger and fiercer predator, it seems fitting. But when a small creature manages to beat a larger, relatively speaking, and moreover a venomous snake, it truly inspires admiration for the little one's bravery. The hedgehog accidentally provoked the wrath of a rattlesnake, which immediately launched an aggressive attack on the little one, who was within striking distance. However, the hedgehog did not lose composure and was able to withstand the attack. It curled up into a ball so that only the spines faced the venomous reptile. It turned out that this natural defense of the hedgehog works perfectly even against one of the most dangerous snakes on the planet. The spines are short, but very sharp. They point directly away from the hedgehog and densely cover its body like real armor. The reptile's teeth simply cannot penetrate between them, and to attack the hedgehog's body, which is curled up, means for the venomous creature to impale itself on the enemy's weapon with its full weight and inflict dozens of pricks on itself. The rattlesnake realized this and crawled around the hedgehog, trying to find a vulnerable spot in its defense. Eventually, the reptile got tired of this futile effort. It made a lightning-fast bite, but its venomous fangs couldn't penetrate the dense layer of quills and tough fur. The hedgehog managed to escape. The snake had to retreat because it realized it had overestimated itself and chosen the wrong opponent. Moreover, its reckless attack had serious consequences. The snake's mouth is not protected by scales and is very soft and sensitive. To impale it on the quills was not only painful but also dangerous for the integrity of this part of the reptile's body. Now swallowing food will be very painful for her until all the wounds heal, which may take a week. This lesson the reptile will remember for a long time and will no longer attack hedgehogs. And this animal was not even scared and calmly watched the enemy retreat. It seems he was completely calm the whole time. A large venomous snake did not feel fear in front of these small, nimble creatures that ran through the forest in search of food. The reptile was simply crawling about its business, perhaps regretting that this furry creature was too big to swallow. But the snake clearly misjudged the threat, as it was dealing with a raccoon dog, which had an astonishing reaction and appetite, despite the fact that the coloring of this animal's face really resembled a raccoon. In fact, it is a relative of foxes and jackals. Not only is this species of canines small in itself, but it is also a young individual that recently left its juvenile stage and was therefore small in size but brave. safe, as this incident showed. The snake tried to show its irritation at the approaching opponent and attacked the dog with a venomous bite. But the opponent turned out to be unexpectedly agile and truly fearless. She pressed the opponent, cornered it, and constantly studied it. When the creature finally grabbed the snake, it counterattacked. But the remarkable reaction speed did not allow the raccoon dog to dodge at such a super close distance. Just look at how the animal shakes its head to definitely get rid of the enemy's grip and simultaneously jumps back. Of course, the dog is larger and seems like a great target, but the snake can only attack one point, and the dog can easily lift its paw, head, or body out of the line of attack. There were not one but two raccoon dogs hanging around nearby, so the snake doesn't even realize how much trouble it's in. The level of concentration, reaction speed, and reflexes of the furry predator are astonishing and make the snake consider a panicked escape. The dog threw the snake and avoided its strike. Nevertheless, it did not leave, but instead approached the reptile and began to study its capabilities. Notice how attentively the animal reacts to even the slightest movements of the snake. It was ready to dodge at any moment, but instead the dog continued the attack and grabbed the snake by the head. The strength of these animals' jaws also deserves respect. One bite at the base of the neck broke the venomous reptile's spine. The snake didn't have time to bite back. As a result, these two attractive animals got a meal. The small and charming hedgehog does not seem particularly suited for life in the desert. It's hot, unpleasant, and full of enemies just waiting to encounter such big-eared cuties. For example, Deisimku esinkumtaya. The desert viper is a very dangerous reptile that can crawl on hot sand in a unique way, minimizing body contact with the surface. Moreover, this reptile is very aggressive, as there is little food in the desert and it needs to increase its chances of success in hunting. Retreating is not her habit, and her skill in setting ambushes and actively attacking with venomous fangs is even more refined. When she attacks, she coils the muscles of her neck, literally shooting her head at the target. This method of attack is characteristic of many snakes, but the desert viper has nearly perfected it, only slightly lagging behind the rattlesnake in strike speed. Mia, yo, Mindy. In turn, hedgehogs, as is known, mainly hunt insects and other small creatures. They are cool predators, but are their capabilities comparable to the arsenal of a rattlesnake? Yet it was very cheap. It seems that the little one is doomed, as it has tangled with an opponent beyond its strength. Moreover, this particular hedgehog in general was having a very bad day. He managed to catch only one centipede and there was nothing suitable for food around. The heat was unbearable, so the little creature decided to make a small hole in the sand. Its depth was small, but it seemed like a real salvation for the little one. Here's how he copes with the harsh living conditions. The sun hits the sand so much that it's painful to walk on, but the temperature rises only on the surface. Even at a minimal depth system, the sand becomes not scorching but just warm. The hedgehog dug this hole just to rest comfortably, but it saved his life from an owl attack. She swooped down on the little one, trying to grab him with her clawed feet. If the hedgehog hadn't managed to dig the hole, it would have been caught. The hedgehog was lucky, but this day was undoubtedly very difficult. So at night, the hedgehog decided to diversify its menu and attacked a desert viper first. It might seem that desperation drove him. This poisonous and aggressive snake was much larger than the hedgehog itself, but the little animal was not scared at all and, on the contrary, took the initiative in the duel with such an opponent. The viper was shocked by such a daring attack, but it responded to the approaching adversary with a fierce and swift attack. Compared to the hedgehog, the snake is enormous and the mammal could very well become its meal. Therefore, the viper was probably pleased with this encounter, considering it a lucky coincidence. Well, the reptile will have to reconsider. It did indeed attack the opponent with lightning speed, trying to sink its venomous fangs into it. works. It only needs to inject a very small dose of venom into the hedgehog's body to end the fight in its favor. But the hedgehog instantly raised its spines against the attacking reptile. It turned out they can serve as a good weapon not only for passive defense but also during active confrontation. And then the hedgehog, assessing the opponent's capabilities, launched an active counterattack using its teeth. The little one's jaws may not seem like such a formidable weapon at first glance. However, the small teeth are very sharp, and the jaws are unexpectedly strong. Thanks to its reaction speed, bravery, and reflexes, the hedgehog can afford to prolong the fight. He defends with his quills, inflicting wound after wound on the snake, gradually depleting its strength and causing increasingly dangerous injuries. Soon he finishes it off, reaching the snake's internal organs. Another trick helped him. The hedgehog attacked the viper at night. The cold-blooded creature during this period loses speed and endurance and cannot maintain its body temperature independently, and the temperature of the surrounding environment in the desert drops significantly at night. The hedgehog doesn't have this problem, and it acted very decisively and quickly. Which case where snakes were beaten by their tough opponents do you remember the most? Answer in the comments and subscribe to our channel, then we will see each other more often.